Hi, welcome to my channel and to my review show. Today's guests are two pistols from China, the Type 54 and the M213. Now before I start, let's talk about the white elephant in the room. On May 30th, 2022, the minority Liberal government of Canada introduced legislation to ban the sale, purchase, transfer, and importation of all handguns. No reason why it wouldn't pass with the support of the NDP party. Unlike the 1,500 variants they banned over 2 years ago, to which I've yet to see any compensation, although they did promise to execute it later this year. This legislation means I can keep these pistols, use it, but when I die, I have to hand it in. I can't will it to my son. So that is the reason why I'm doing this video before I transfer it to my son. Also, there's a YouTuber named Can Surplus. He did a comparison between the Type 54 and the M54, and so, go check it out. And so this is kind of a follow-up to his video. So let's begin. Okay, let's start with the little bit of history. The Type 54 is a copy of the TT-33, which is an improved version of the TT-30. The designer was Fedor Tokarev. It was adopted by the Soviet Union in 1930. By 1950, China entered the Korean War. In 1951, Russian donated parts, equipment, and advisor, and the Chinese produced them as Type 51. In 1952, the TT-33 was replaced by the Makarov, and by 1953, the Korean War ended. In 1954, the Chinese then replaced the Type 51 with the Type 54, which essentially is the same pistol, except I understand they did the whole thing themselves. Now, the TT-30 stands for, of course, Tula, where it was first made, Tokarev. So that's where the name came from. Okay, now let's get rid of the stats or the spec. The Type 54 and the M213 both have 4.5-inch barrel, and it weighs both 1.9 pounds. And the trigger weight of this one is between 5.5 to 6 pounds, and the 213 is 3.5 to 4 pounds, a lot better. Now, the barrel thickness of this is 12.6 millimeter, and this is 13.1 millimeter, and that is because this is a 9 millimeter, and this is a 7.62 by 25. Longer round, smaller ahead, the bullet. So in other words, it's a faster, flatter trajectory, and able to penetrate soldiers in winter clothes with layers and layers of, clothing. So that was the whole point of that. The funny thing, in the 60s, when the American decided to replace the 308, they decided to go with the smaller, bullet, and that which is the 5.56, which is, of course, a smaller bullet, flatter trajectory, higher velocity, and that's basically the same thing of this. Okay, so and both, by the way, have chrome barrels, and I've tested that, and I used cold blue in the inside the barrel, and they both did not hold, did not turn color. So that means that both have chrome barrel. Okay, now that's basically done. Why don't we start with the markings on the outside of the Type 54. The marking of the Type 54 on top is Chinese letters. There's 3 of them. That stands for Type 54, and the serial number is in millions, and it's 24 million. 24 million add 54, which is the year of adoption, and then you minus 1, so this was made in 1977. Okay, and there's no other markings on the slide other than the top and the and on the frame there's the serial number and a 66 marked on it. 66 stands for the factory, factory 66, and that's in Shenyang. And the M213, there is no markings on the top because there are grooves, minimize the reflection grooves on top, and that's why there's no marking on top. But there are markings on the side. And of course, this is the military version, this is the commercial version, and this says model 213 9 by 19 millimeters. So of course this is the Luger or 9 millimeter. And there's an export mark, CN08CA, that's China 2008, and CA stands for Canada. Okay, and there's no other marking. And on this frame, there's just that serial number, and the serial number is only 6-digit, and it started with 82. So obviously, this might be made in 1982. Okay, and there's no factory because the selector that they put in has, of course, taken that space. Now, the reason why they put this in is because one of the American rules is that you have to have a proper safety. Okay, other than the only safety that the military version have is the half cock. Okay, when it's half cock, you can pull the trigger and nothing will happen. Okay. And one of the rules of importation, obviously, one of the American rules are that it has to have a proper safety. And this is a proper safety. When you see the red button, the lever is towards the back. That means ready to fire. And when you move it to the front and you see the white button, that means it's unsafe. Now, both of the trigger, as I mentioned, this is an improved trigger. It's only 3.5 to 4 pounds, while this is 5.5 to 6 pounds. But also this feels a little longer, and this is a little bit shorter. However, because of the quality of workmanship, the trigger moves up and down a little bit more than I would like. Okay, and if you watch Can Plus, he talked about where the Type 54 military is much better workmanship than the M54, and that is almost similar to this type. This is the military version, this is the commercial version, and you can even tell the workmanship, whereas you can see here it's quite straight and smooth. Over here, I don't know if you can tell, but it's not sanded properly, and it seems like it's sanded up to here and then it stopped, and they missed about half an inch towards the back, and it's not straight at all. And this side is a little bit better, but this is pretty obvious that it was hand sanded and it wasn't done really well. And you can also see some of the rough sanding on the hand guard, on the trigger guard. You can see, and you can also see the trigger guard is quite fat compared to the military version. There's no reason why it has to be this fat, other than they didn't want to spend too much time sanding this. Okay, and however, the finish is both blued, and this one, for some reason, parts of the blued is wearing off, and it's starting to look like it's phosphate. It's starting to look like it was parkerized. As you can see, it's turning flat in color. A little down there, back here. It looks like from handling the shine from the blued. Although the slide seems holding its blued, but the frame seemed to lose its luster. Okay. Other than that, I will then disassemble this and then compare between the 9mm and the 7.62 by 25. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Now off camera I disassembled both of the pistols and I'm gonna make comparison to the quality and whether they're interchangeable. And let's start with the from the top, working our way down. Both the recoil springs, this is about a 1/4 inch longer than that, but I think they're still interchangeable. The piece in front of the recoil spring is the same, and the guide is exactly the same also. Now, I already mentioned the OD of the barrel is 0.5mm difference between the two of them. Obviously, one's a 9mm and one's a 7.62, but the length is identical, 4.5 inches. If the OD of the barrel is different diameter, then of course these bushings would be different. There's no way this 7.62 will fit beyond this point, so it won't work. And this in here will be, it'll work, but it'll be really rattly, kind of loose, so that won't work. Now the quality of the this hammer unit housing, they looked about the same. There's a slight difference, and the difference is in the bottom of this side plate right there. If you can see, here has a half moon cutout and this one does not, but other than that they're identical, as you can see here. On this side they look the same. So over here, the reason for that cutout is that's where the safety switch goes into that piece right here. So are they interchangeable? This Type 54 will not fit into this frame, but this will fit into the Type 54. And here I'll show you what I mean. Just pop it in like this. Okay. Okay, it's in. See that? I'm going to cock it. Now I'm going to pull the trigger. And it does move. And half cock also works. So yes, the M213 will work on the Type 54, but the Type 54 will actually won't even fit into this. This is as far as it will go, okay, because of the safety switches in the way. Okay, moving along to the slide. I already mentioned the outside of the slide isn't really well done, as you can tell. That's not very good, not even. The line between the top part and the lower part is kind of faded, while as this line is more sharper, as you can tell. But generally the work is a little bit better. Another major difference is the ejection port, because of this longer round. The shell is longer, the ejection port is bigger. Okay, and of course as a commercial reason, the top part has a lot of tiny grooves to reduce glare. Okay, another big difference you can tell is the where you grip the slide. This is a vertical, this is in an angle. Okay, so I'm looking inside. The quality is about the same. There's really no difference in the quality. There is one minor change here, and I don't know what the real purpose, but it looks like this piece right here on the 213, it seems to have extended the bolt further down by about 1 millimeter to catch the round. Okay, this one looks like to me it's been it's a piece that slid in there. They cut out and then they slid it in, and then they pinned it, and that's what it looks like to me. Take a good look. However, I've tried with the 9 millimeter with this, and I just don't understand why you need this, because it caught the 9 millimeter without any problem. Okay, so if you guys know what the reason for that piece is, please share it with me. It's just below the bolt face, right there. Otherwise, everything else inside looked about the same. Okay, now we're coming down to, oh, this is, the slide catch is the same. Now we're coming to the frame. And as I mentioned earlier, that the bluing has now kind of become more matte, and the shine is gone. And it has plastic grip sides, and they have that Norinco star. And looks like the middle part of the Norinco is made out of metal, aluminum maybe. And I'm not sure about this one. Maybe it is. I can't tell. But this one, the color shows it's aluminum color. So again, the workmanship inside looks about the same. Not a whole lot of difference between the two of them. One obviously difference is there is a piece of U-shaped metal here. It's basically to make the inside of the magazine well smaller, and so therefore it takes up some of the room, because the 9 millimeter is shorter. It uses a shorter magazine, as you can tell, and the 7.62 is a longer magazine. It's about the same width, okay, and here's the big difference on the top. Okay, and they're both. So will this fit into this? Obviously not. Will this fit into here? It will, but it'll rattle because it's quite loose. Can I place some of these parts into a regular type 54? And yes, I can. If I took the barrel and the bushing and I even the hammer assembly and put it in there, it will work. And I don't even have to use this magazine. I can still use this magazine. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to do that. See if it fits. Okay. First, I'm going to put this barrel with the bigger bushing into the Type 54. Okay. And then I'm going to slide using the same spring. I'm sure this spring will work too. There's only a 1/4 inch difference between the two of them. And here I'm just going to slide this in and make sure that comes out of there. And I'm going to squeeze this in place like that. Make sure you have your thumb on the spring, because it has a tendency to pop up. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the frame. I'm going to take, first of all, the hammer assembly and slide that in. See if that works. I'm going to cock it, make sure it's back, and I'm going to assemble it together. Okay, now I can release the spring. And I'm going to take the slide lock, okay, I'm just going to make sure it's all the way in. It is. I'm going to put the lock in place, and I'm just going to cock it. Let's see if it works. I'm going to pull the trigger. It does close. It works. Now I'm going to put, I can't use this because it's too sloppy. I'm going to use this, and I'm going to use 9mm on this. It'll work because somebody told me it does work. Both magazines hold 8 rounds. Okay, we got 8 rounds, 8 dummy rounds in this. I'm going to slide it in here. And it's locked. I'm going to pull this and see if it loads. I'm going to check it to make sure it's in, and it is in. See that? It does work. Okay. I'm going to pull it out. Check the firing, and it does fire. I'm going to pull it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it does work. So you don't actually need a 9mm magazine. The 7.62 round magazine works just fine. So in conclusion, will the barrel from the 213 fit the Type 54? It will, provided you bring the barrel and the bushing with it. Also, you don't need to bring the recoil spring, and you don't need to bring the magazine, because the Type 54 magazine, although it's wider, it'll work. Now, will the Type 54 barrel work on the 213? It will, provided that you bring the trigger housing with it. Also, you could also use the wider Type 54 magazine, provided you remove this bracket that's inside the mag well. You can see it right there, and here on top. It's just a bracket that makes the mag well not so wide, so the 9mm would fit. Okay, so those two things you need to do to make them interchangeable. Now, there is a dealer that sells a kit, a 9mm barrel kit. It comes with 1 barrel and 2 magazines. And it's not the proper 9mm magazine. It's actually wider. It's as wide as a Type 54, even though it's for 9mm. So what they did is they added the bracket inside the in the back. They added the bracket inside the magazine. It's as wide as this, and it's a 9mm. However, it doesn't come with the bushing. What you do, you use an existing 7.62 bushing. Okay, and now you're saying, how can that be? Because this is wider. Not in the kit. The kit, that 9mm barrel OD, is the same diameter as the 7.62. So you have to use the bushing. Okay, the 7.62 bushing along with the kit 9mm. The non-kit 9mm, this barrel is 0.5 millimeter bigger, and so you have to bring its own bushing. But in the kit, it doesn't come with a bushing, and so it's designed to use the 7.62 bushing. And of course, it comes with its own magazine. I don't know why you need to bring your own magazine. I just demonstrated to you that the 7.62 magazine will work just fine, but it does come with 2 magazines. But you don't need those 2 magazines. If you can just buy the barrel, then just buy the barrel. Because, like I said, all they did is take this magazine and put the bracket inside. Therefore, so that comes to the conclusion of this video. Thank you very much for joining me, and please subscribe.